Okay, we're live. We're fucking live. I'll be just sharing for a little bit and we'll begin with the podcast. Okay, just sharing if anyone is joining. Okay. Okay. No one here yet, but we will begin. Oh, I need to set this up as well. Need to set some stuff up. Okay. We'll be waiting for a little bit before moving on to the fights. Okay. Yes. I'm checking some stuff here and we'll begin with the podcast very soon. Oh yes, I need to share this once more on Blue Sky. Okay. I need to check Twitter for the last time. Okay, I'll just be sharing a little bit. Pasa.
Terminaste. Es que como no hablaba nada. ¿Por qué?
¿Ah?
¿Por qué no hablas?
No hay problema, voy a retomar, entonces estoy esperando que vuelva la gente.
Ah, ya. Pásame el gato.
Pásame. ¿Cómo te fue?
Bien. Ay, que me preocupa porque no hablabas.
Ah, no.
Ya, me voy a acostar.
Ya. Yo voy en un ratito ya. What's up, Badger? What's up, Ben? Okay, we're all set to go. You know, this doesn't start before I open my energy drink. It is insanely hot today. Like, you cannot believe how hot it is today. This is, what the fuck is this? Dragon fruit Red Bull. That's on the menu today. Anyway, let's get to the fights right now. What's up, everyone? I'm Feño from the Fight Side. This is the full preview for UFC 311, Makhachev versus Tsarukyan 2. This is going on in Los Angeles, California, which is kind of surprising because, if I'm not mistaken, there are like some very big very big fires going on Los Angeles. Sending my best wishes to everyone that is on California. I hope everyone is staying safe. But yeah, this is a tremendous event. So we have 14 fights. We have 2 title fights. So why don't we get into the action? So let me update my pictures here. And this is in order. Yes. Okay. Our first fight of the night is a flyweight bout between Tagir Ulanbekov and Clayton Carpenter. Let's begin with Ulanbekov, a long Dagestani wrestler of the Kiki variety, and not the last one that we will see today. Fights out of a tall stance, maintaining distance with long jabs, 1-2s, calf kicks, and front kicks at range. He likes to keep exchanges clean, but his stance can collapse during prolonged exchanges, especially when trying to close the distance with his right hand. He maintains good volume, but his defense relies a lot on spacing and pulling back. But he's also good at defensively grabbing clinches. Defense inside the pocket can be troublesome since he stands tall and can lack head movement, but he throws back and tries to move his feet during exchanges. Inside the clinch he favors collar ties and whizzers, and he's good at dirty boxing and using his height to land knees. The clinch is also where he finds most of his takedowns with a variety of trips and throws from over-under. He has solid takedown defense. He usually favors the whizzer to keep himself on the feet as well. He can be vulnerable during transitions. Ulanbekov is not super controlling from top position, but he's good at flowing from position to position, and his front headlock game is his most dangerous asset. From bottom, he's excellent at using butterfly hooks to either sweep or get to a leg to wrestle up. Ulanbekov is tough and decently conditioned, plus very big for the weight class. He has issues when not controlling exchanges and dealing with transitional threats. Opposed to him, we have Clayton Carpenter, a well-rounded and athletic MMA lab product. Carpenter throws big punches on the feet and is a dexterous kicker. He can lack nuance, but he brings some good ideas to the table. Pretty decent footwork, he's comfortable switching stances for both offensive and defensive purposes. He can be road defensively, probably attribute to his lack of experience, particularly during prolonged exchanges. He can throw back without moving his head or freeze. Transitions are a strong point though. He's a solid technical wrestler and physical. He's good at reactive chops and also transitioning from his own combinations. He can hide his shot with his stance switches. He's heavy from top position. He's also an avid scrambler with a strong front headlock game. Taking the back has become his specialty and has found success finishing with the rear naked choke in the UFC, something that he was not doing on the regional scene. He has been taken down and has shown an aggressive guard, using the space of his sub attempts to create scrambles. He has good cardio and he's tough. The biggest issues for Carpenter come from his lack of depth, especially in the striking department. So our opener should be an exciting bout between well-rounded fighters. Tagir is the cleaner of the two offensively, but he also presents more vulnerabilities at range because of his tall stance and his high chin. Carpenter can find success if he's aggressive early, but he needs to be cautious of counters, be it strikes or clinch entries. Ulanbekov has a sizable reach advantage and probably a wrestling advantage inside the clinch. Both fighters are great scramblers, but Carpenter's tendency to play guard might find him in bottom position. At the end, it is the experience, both in total and against high-level opposition, that makes me side with Ulanbekov, so Tagir Ulanbekov wins a decision. That's our first pick of the night. Okay, let's get back to the shot. Hey, we have Ghost over here. Hope you're doing well, Ghost, my friend, man. Yeah, I appreciate you showing up, even if it is for a little bit, my dude band, man. Thank you, I appreciate it. This fight is very good. This opener is good stuff, man. I'll be sharing a little bit more. And I wanted to share with someone else. Okay. And also, yes, here. Okay, we'll be moving on to our next fight. Let's go into OBS. Okay, and where I have the notes for this. There, here. Okay. We move up one division to bantamweight. We have a bout between Ricky Turcios and Bernardo Sopaj. So let's begin with Ricky, a frenetic pace fighter. Turcios fights out of a bladed stance and is usually aggressive from range with kicks from both legs and wide punches. Not a power puncher, but he keeps a high pace and his flexible kicks can surprise from a variety of ranges. Turcios usually uses his high guard to absorb strikes before countering or moving his feet and trying to counter with his lead hook. It's not as hard to push back as you expect, but he keeps throwing by moving backwards, and his countering and footwork are okay on the back foot. He has been vulnerable to leg kicks and combinations that exploit his high guard, as he exposes himself when putting combos together, squaring his stance, and keeping his hands low. Turcios will grab clinches when moving forwards, as he keeps high activity with hammer punches and knees. While not a very sturdy wrestler, Turcios does offer resistance in the form of limp leggings, switches, and front headlocks. As a grappler, Turcios is just as if not more chaotic, as he's very creative scrambler that will take risks, often looking for sweeps and submissions. From bottom, Ricky is well versed in using butterfly hooks, inversions, and leg entanglements to sweep to get back up. From top, he's an opportunistic grappler that looks to take the back or move to a front headlock and will jump submissions often. Turcios is very well conditioned and tough, but his defensive flaws and lack of systematic offense hold him back. Against him, we have Sopaj, an athletic wrestle kickboxer. Sopaj is well put together and mostly technical everywhere the fight goes. He doesn't have the highest output, but he likes pressuring behind feints with good footwork and combat combinations. A snappy jab coupled with powerful kicks and hooks allow him to back people up and punish their cycling habits. His defense relies mostly on spacing, but he does have good counterpunching ability to keep opponents off him. Leg kicks can be a problem, and so is his habit to throw road combos inside the pocket. Transitions are a strong point for him, as he's quick to convert combos into level changes to the clinch or the legs, and he's also good at reactive takedowns, tugging under punches or catching kicks. Sopaj has been content to push opponents against the fence, riding and waiting for takedown opportunities, but he can lack damage in those positions. He has been vulnerable to throws like wizard kicks inside the clinch, but his scrambling and mat wrestling have looked on point so far. A solid grappler, Sopaj looks for solid ground and pound with good posture and has been hard to hold down, but he himself has had trouble holding bigger opponents down. He's not very big for the division, but powerful and dangerous everywhere. Sopaj is a bit of an unknown commodity against high-level opposition. He gassed in his UFC debut after a solid first round, and he has been a finisher on the regionals. Resolve and cardio are a question mark. The big question here comes in the form of the durability and conditioning of Sopaj. Skill-wise, he seems to be a bad matchup for Turcios, as he has him outgunned on the feet, and is a good wrestler and grappler who can defend takedowns and stay safe from top position. The problem is that Turcios really has a pace that tests the composure of his opponents, and he's also incredibly tough and durable. If the fight goes long and Sopaj tires and starts shooting desperately or stays for too long in slowing exchanges, things can get ugly quickly. Sopaj seems to have all the answers for Turcios on paper, but I need to see him win a fight like this before trusting him, so I'm picking Ricky Turcios to win by decision. James Kendrick, what's up, my man? Hello. Rio Sousan. Hi, Feño. Is Turcios staying on bottom a problem for it? I mean, the thing is that maybe against like high-level grapplers, but Turcios is a very active scrambler from his back, so he can make like things sketchy from a scoring perspective. But it can be a trouble for sure. But he has a lot of resources. It is a bigger problem for other kind of fighters, because like Turcios is always like creating movement, making people work. So I think in that sense, it's not a big of an issue for him that it is for other fighters. This is going to be one of those fights where you share clips and go on ranked flyweights better than ranked middleweights. Pretty much, man. Carpenter is very solid, like for sure better than some middleweights. I'll be shaking some stuff like super quickly here. Man, but it seems like that's a heavy fight was so weird, right? With Turcios trying to like play him like a more conservative game from distance. It was very weird fight. But I feel like he's back to being like crazy Ricky right now. And I feel like it is more risky, but it's like a better winning condition for him, like to just push the pace and then make it like make the pace a problem for people. I feel like he doesn't have like the skills. I feel to fight like a slower pace fight. So I feel like he took the right gamble against Rosas, because Rosas is one of the better grapplers in the division. Like he's very strong, he's willing to sell out. So I think he did the right call there, even though it didn't pay off and he lost that fight. I feel like fighting an aggressive and trying to get into the scrambles like right off the bat against Rosas, for him it was the right idea, because you know he doesn't have the takedown defense to keep Rosas off him. So it was like better to like just get to the point and see what happens, right? Okay, let's move to the next one. Oh, we have Nakamura. We stay at bantamweight for our next fight. We have a bout between Rinya Nakamura and Gafurov. I don't have the name written right here. Is it Naim Gafurov? Muin Gafurov. I'm so sorry, man. I usually have that on deck, but didn't this time. So okay, let's begin with Nakamura. Rinya Nakamura, an accomplished former international wrestler, a freakish athlete who also seems to have a good baseline understanding of MMA intangibles. Concepts like rhythm and distance have transitioned fairly smoothly from wrestling to the cage. A southpaw that fights out of a wide stance, Nakamura is light on his feet, constantly feigning with his hands, steps, and level changes. Big power into his strikes, including a mean left kick. He also seems to be somewhat of a natural counterpuncher. He has some defensive ideas, not only spacing, but also angling and hiding behind his lead shoulder, but these usually fall apart quickly during prolonged exchanges. He has a huge safety blanket afforded to him by his power and most importantly by his wrestling threat. As expected, he's a tremendous wrestler in MMA, owner of a lightning quick level change with great penetration, who is also a fantastic chain wrestler who has adapted well to the presence of the fence. Nakamura is not limited to leg attacks, he's also versatile from the clinch. From top position, he's heavy but also flows very well from position to position. His posture and base has made him very hard to sweep or threaten with submission attempts. He can tend to rush his own submission attempts, giving scrambling opportunities to opponents. Other than that being raw on the feet and the aforementioned issues when looking for subs, there's not much to critique about Nakamura, but there are multiple question marks. Cardio and Shin seem fine so far, but he's still largely untested. And against him we have Gafurov, a wild and stocky wrestle kickboxer. Gafurov throws everything with power. Known for his hooks, he's also a powerful kicker and is not afraid to throw spinning attacks. Historically not a very nuanced fighter, he showed improvements in shot selection and accuracy in his last fight, picking his spots better and staying ready to counter. Gafurov attacks all three levels and can make effective use of shifting offense to track retreating opponents or pressuring. His combinations and shifts can leave him vulnerable as he doesn't guard and tends to square his stance or break his posture. His defense is bare bones, he's either backing up or just shelling and throwing counters, but he has good instinct inside the pocket. Gafurov is a solid wrestler and scrambler, especially in open space when he's not being countered, as he can attack grips, sprawls, and angle effectively, but he has been consistently susceptible to reactive takedowns, especially when he opens up with combinations. From the bottom, Gafurov remains safe, waiting for opportunities to explode, and his stocky frame and athleticism allow him to create movement from precarious positions. From top, he has big ground and pound, but he can fail to control foes when going for it. Gafurov is athletic, well-conditioned and tough, but his wild tendencies and lack of depth hold him back. So in this fight, Gafurov probably has an advantage during prolonged exchanges, especially when it comes to comfort inside the pocket, and his scrambling and wrestling chops will come in handy if he plays his cards well, but Nakamura's blend of open space wrestling with his flowy control will probably allow him to dictate the action of the fight even when Gafurov finds his way back to his feet. Gafurov has had trouble getting taken down during transitions, and while he's known for escaping bad positions, he doesn't want to engage in prolonged change wrestling against the Japanese here. That being said, if he's able to defend a few bad shots and get on Nakamura's face, his odds improve dramatically. I think Nakamura passes this test and he wins a decision. Ricky Turcios is a master of the kiss of the lizard technique. It wasn't enough to be a... He's a master of the kiss of the lizard, and he's also a master of the... What is similar to a crab? To the lobster ride. Is there a lobster ride in BJJ? I feel like every day there's a new weird BJJ technique that I don't know of. Rinja Nakamura, thoughts on him not going for damage from top position. He's got some good positional ideas, but he seems not urgent to land. Yeah, I feel like I don't blame him that hard, because in that last fight against, I don't remember the name, and that dude Carlos, because Carlos was playing a very like sports jiu-jitsu game, right? And I feel like Nakamura was more, concerned with staying safe and maintaining top position, and he was like very mindful of like defending against the leg locks, I felt. And so I don't blame him too bad for that, but I hope Nakamura really develops a more like ground and pound heavy style, right? Because he's so athletic and explosive, it blends very well. And he finds himself in those positions with like wrist rights, cross wrist rights, and that kind of stuff. So he might be able to land like very good shots if he puts his mind to it. By the way, he was training with Imanari himself for that fight against Carlos, who trains with Ryan Hall, so it was like a show of leg lock nerds on that one. That feeling when Octopus Guard and Squid Guard are two different things. BJJ guard names stupid. Yeah, I mean... and like sometimes they just name stuff after the fact. Like they were... I remember a thread on Twitter. Hey, we have Ferreira, man. The GOAT. I remember a thread on Twitter, and they were asking like Cub Swanson about Octopus Guard, because he always used that to sweep, get to the back and that kind of stuff. And Cub Swanson was like, I never knew that was Octopus Guard. We called it, he said like another stupid name, like we called that the Dirty Dog back in the day or something like that. So the nerds were like, actually, that's Octopus Guard. And Cub Swanson was like, I don't know what you're talking about, but cool. I'm sweating like a fucking pig right now. I'll be a mess when this shit is done. Like, it's so hot in here. Anyway, let's get to the next fight. Oh, we have the girls. We stay at bantamweight, but this time for the ladies. We have a bout between Carol Rosa and Aileen Perez. Let's begin with Carol Rosa, a well-rounded kickboxer. Rosa has some versatility to her movement, but she usually likes to walk opponents down, looking to set up her big right hand. To accomplish this, she's the owner of a solid jab and inside leg kick that she uses to control exchanges and also a damaging calf kick. Rosa has power in all of her committed shots, but she operates better in neutral space exchanges, as she can lose her stance chasing opponents and collapsing into the clinch. She's a counter threat with both hands, having a solid left hook on top of her right hand, and her use of the inside leg kicks to force resets is notable. Rosa has good footwork and all-around defense, but she can be reactive and can have trouble during prolonged exchanges if she's not landing her counters. Decently strong in the clinch, she could afford to be more urgent about pummeling, as she has been stalled for prolonged periods. She usually does a better job clinching in open space, as the owner of heavy knees and footwork has a good eye for landing big punches and elbows during breaks. A competent grappler, Rosa is heavy from top position, and her power translates into effective ground and pound. Takedown defense can be suspect, especially during transitions, as she can get caught with her hips squared. Rosa has good cardio, is tough, and is an above average athlete for the division, but despite some good control tools, she can fail to dictate the pace and direction of a fight, relying on exchanges to win moments. Opposed to her, we have Eileen Perez. A stocky wrestler, Perez usually likes to move on the outside and keep active with kicks. Packs decent power but not much of a boxer, is still raw on the feet with suspect defensive reactions. She can and does move her head and level changes into clinches and takedown attempts as a form of defense though. And she's actually decent at scoring, drawing reactions, and setting her takedowns up with her kicks. Despite decent entries to the clinch and to the legs, her takedowns finishes aren't very polished, but she's physically strong and an insistent chain wrestler. She usually attacks the legs initially, and if that doesn't work, she will climb to the clinch and drive to the fence where she has solid variety of trips and throws. A solid top position player, Perez is heavy and fundamentally sound. She has good ground and pound and passes, and she often aims to get to mount. She's good at maintaining mount and side control and lands ground and pound from there. In her last fight, she sealed the deal with an arm triangle. From bottom, she's quick to create space using her legs and will look to get to a single to wrestle her way up. Improvements to her ground and pound has made her more dangerous. Her raw striking remains an apparent flaw, and her gas tank has looked suspicious in the past. Perez has the tools to win this. If she moves on the outside, Rosa might open herself up to getting taken down. That said, Rosa is a step above her previous competition when it comes to being a well put together fighter with athleticism to make her game work. Rosa is better than most girls on the division at both dealing with kicks and countering in open space, which will probably limit the setups and looks from Perez. I would lean more towards Perez if she was more of a cardio and pace threat, or a more dangerous fighter overall. As things are, I feel like Perez might find success in spots with her wrestling and activity, but I feel like the more skill and damaging Rosa takes a decision here. What early prelim match you're looking forward the most? Which ones are early prelims here? Okay, I found a picture. Oh no, it was fucking TikTok. Okay, found a picture. So the early prelims are these four that I already talked about, and the next one is actually the one that I'm looking forward the most because it's a very good fight. So why don't we get to talk about that? Because the next one is a very good fight. Oh yes. We move to the lightweight division, and we have a very interesting bout between Grant Dawson and Carlos Diego Ferreira. So let's begin with Dawson. A strong wrestler and grappler, Dawson has been improving on the feet, especially his comfort, and he has solid ideas about parrying his attacks, and he packs respectable power. He also leverages his takedown threat into being aggressive and taking the initiative. Dawson can play the jab leg kick game a bit and has started liking spinning kicks and kicking of knees and kicks punching of kicks and knees. He feints level changes often, and he can translate those feints into shifting offense or big loopy shots. Defense is still concerning on the feet. He is usually open for counters when kicking, and his hooks are pretty wide. He backs up often, and his chin is usually high during exchanges. When it comes to wrestling, he heavily favors the single leg, and he can hide his entries off his rear hand pretty well. He's a relentless and sticky wrestler. Dawson looks to aggressively run the pipe in open space or transition to a double leg or a knee tap according to his opponent's reaction. He's also good at driving foes to the fence from the single leg and from there finishing his single or transition to a double. He's very heavy from top position. Dawson has good posture and passes and has been improving his ground pound in most positions. While Dawson is dangerous from rise, controlling the wrist, and controlling the wrist, his favorite position is fully taking the back, having tremendous control with hooks or body triangle. The rear naked choke is his go-to submission, but he can also just force the Sopaj with ground and pound against flattened opponents. Dawson has gotten tired during the third rounds in the past, but at the same time he has shown tremendous resolve scoring finishes during final rounds. His striking defense during exchanges and when opening up for big action remain his biggest flaws. And against him we have Carlos Diego Ferreira, a well-rounded veteran. CDF is adaptable and good at following game plans, but he's usually at his best when he gets to pressure. A slicker striker than you would expect from a BJJ import, Ferreira is very good at using aggression to take the initiative of a fight. He's also good at punishing reactions and countering during transitions, usually punishing fighters with kicks to all 3 levels, hooks in close distance, and long straights when they back up. While he can get a little bit wild, Ferreira packs compact power and is usually balanced. He has decent footwork and blocks and hides behind his shoulders well. Longer combinations can get him as he mostly relies on spacing and counters to keep foes away. An all-around solid grappler and wrestler, Ferreira might not be able to protect his hip from takedown attempts, but his scrambling more than makes up for it. An incredible versatile scrambler, CDF has very good mix of mat wrestling and effective jiu-jitsu from the bottom to get back to his feet. A powerful sprawl of the wizard and good limp leg escapes are complemented by butt drags, chest wraps, and active guard playing with triangle attacks and butterfly hooks elevations. As an offensive wrestler, he's also solid, especially against the fence, and his top game is legit, being the owner of a great mount and very dangerous from the back. He can finish fights off with ground and pound or with the rear naked choke or arm triangle changeup. CDF is very solid overall and looked to be close to the best condition he's ever been despite his age in his last fight. But he has gotten tired in scrambled heavy fights in the past against the best wrestlers of the division. Our dynamics here are very clear. Will CDF be able to scramble his way to his feet to take over during the stand-up? The answer isn't as straightforward though. While CDF has lost scrambling heavy fights to Dariush, Gillespie, and Gamrot, all of them have some differences. Dariush is an equal to CDF when it comes to well-roundedness and transitional work. Gillespie is the most decorated wrestler of the bunch while also being tremendously conditioned and clearly lost the first round before taking over. And Gamrot and CDF were having a very close fight with both getting tired until CDF injured his knee. So Dawson is not the striker that Dariush is, and we haven't seen the extent of his scrambling versatility to the level of Gillespie or Gamrot. Ferreira will have a big advantage on the feet, especially the longer the fight goes, but Dawson packs power and has to be respected. At the end of the day, it comes to CDF's ability to get back up and punish the bad habits of the raw Dawson on the feet. This looks very winnable for the veteran, but I think Dawson brings the kind of physicality and relentlessness that will allow him to take over the longer the fight goes, as opposed to the other way around. I feel like this is a fight where the third round will be very dominant one way or the other. And my final pick is that Dawson wins a decision. Okay, CDF time, lightweight goat. We have a lot of Shriram goats at lightweight, right? Dawson with the Malkoon single. Yeah, man, that single leg trip, I guess. It is kind of weird that we are all calling it the Malkoon single, because that's like DC's like trademark takedown too, right? Especially against heavyweights. And the thing that we crazy with the C is that the single leg, when you run the pipe with the trip, usually works because with the fence there, fighters are not able to back up. But DC was finding it all the time in open space against heavyweights, unlike heavyweights, because like they are just bad and they don't realize that they can just hop backwards to get your foot out of the trip. Oh my god. Okay, more comments. Shriram says, yeah, I hate Dawson's boxing, but it's like perfect wrestler who can't really strike boxing. Yankees mechanics of all time, but hunching over actually works. Yeah, because it like that super ugly like overhand that some wrestler had like puts you right in position to get to the hips, so it's like jank that works in your favor, right? Badger says, Dawson learning ground and pound in time to fight a guy like Enemy. Yeah, man, it fucking sucks, because if Dawson didn't have the ground and pound, this would be like way easier for Ferreira. But I feel like Dawson will be like landing some big shots during transitions in this one. I respect the sadness hedge, but CDF forever. Yeah, I mean, DC is actually a very good wrestler. Malkun, all he does is like grab the single and run the pipe with the inside trip, which is very funny. But he's very good at it, right? Like he has took down like good wrestlers with it already, right? He took down Brundage and he took down Petrovsky, right? With the with the stupid single leg with the trip. Malkun is the goat, man. Oh, we have this now, where we have Reese. Okay. We go to middleweight for our next one. We have a bout between Zach Reese, who takes on short notice. He takes this fight on short notice against Asamat Bekoev, who is the reigning LFA middleweight champion. Let's begin with Zach Reese. A dynamic finisher with the exception of a decision loss to Kevin Holland back in his amateur days and his last fight against Jose Medina. Reese's career has been all kill or be killed, and to his credit, he has been killing for the most part. Big and long for the division, Reese is a southpaw with a nasty body kick and quick hands. Flying knees and spinning attacks are also part of the menu. As a quick finisher, Reese starts fast and starts sharp. He finds range quickly and has accuracy out of the gate. Not everything is good though, as he lacks head movement inside the pocket and his positioning can also be lacking. He relies on his length and backing up to remain safe. Solid wrestler offensively, defensively he can use his length to fight entries but has been vulnerable during prolonged exchanges. Just like his strikes, Reese is a spring grappler who is quick to attack submission and uses his length to his advantage well. Seems to have solid fundamentals from top and can use ground pound to find openings. Reese gas tank is very suspect. He got tired in a fight he was fully in control of last time out, and it looks like he lacks depth in most areas of MMA outside of his early dynamism. Opposed to him we have Bekoev, a Russian wrestler fighting out of ATT. Bekoev doesn't have much output, but he likes to pressure behind shoulder feints. When it comes to leading, he favors the left side using the jab, left hook, and leg body kick to measure and score. While he will fade the left to throw the right, he mostly uses his power right hand to counter, be it as a pull counter or slipping to the outside with the overhand. He's not a layered defensive fighter, but Bekoev tries to control the initiative of the fight and is technically solid most of the time. He can be vulnerable when pushed back and when kicking though. A wrestler by trade, a lot of his defense relies on him changing levels. A potent offensive wrestler, Bekoev usually finishes his takedowns against the fence, dropping for the legs from the high crotch or from the body lock. He has a variety of finishes and he has no issue with burning the clock pushing an opponent against the fence. From top he's heavy and smothering, and while he lands constant ground and pound, he's not very damaging, prioritizing control. From bottom he's a competent scrambler that wastes no time to initiate a sweep or to get to a leg to turn the tables around. Bekoev is well conditioned and tough. Lack of comfort on the feet and lack of damage from top position are his biggest flaws. Reese will have opportunities to find his early finish here, as Bekoev is a bit stiff on the feet and not very layered defensively, but at the same time the wrestling durability and risk aversion of Bekoev also make him a bad matchup for the American here. Reese needs to do damage quick if he wants to win here. If he loses control of the initiative, a counter during an entry might be his only way to victory. Bekoev has no trouble winning a grindy fight or a boring fight and staying safe, and his top control is not likely to offer Reese a lot of submission attempts, so I'm picking Bekoev to win a decision here. So yeah, man, not insanely excited about this one. Like, Reese is not good, but he can be like fun if you allow him to just bang at the beginning of a fight. But I feel like if Bekoev takes over, this might turn like kind of ugly, right? Man, I have so many cats that everything is full of hair. Okay, what's the next one? Okay, we have the big boys. We go all the way up to heavyweight for our next bout between Jailton Almeida and Sergey Spivac. Let's begin with Almeida. An athletic wrestler grappler, Jailton has a simple game. From range, he pressures and stands up his opponent with front kicks, and when he sees a counter opportunity or he has his opponent against the fence, he shoots. While we haven't seen much of Jailton striking in a while, at least we know he's an athletic and mobile heavyweight even after bulking up, who can throw fast hands without compromising his stance, and he's also a dexterous kicker who can throw them up with both legs. Defensively, not much has been seen. He usually throws punches with his head on the center line, but he remains aware during exchanges to change levels. He has a lightning quick shot to the hips, and while his mechanics aren't perfect, he can his drive going to his knees, he collapses his own posture by looking down, for example. He can chain wrestle decently well. Single legs and double legs against the fence are his usual go-tos, and he has no trouble handling the big bodies of the heavyweight division. In case of being denied of his initial shot or not establishing control, Almeida also has a strong body lock and mat return game. From top he shines as he mixes traditional BJJ with leg and wrist rights to advanced position, usually looking to get to the back. Almeida is a well-versed grappler with scrambling abilities. The few times that we have seen him on the bottom, he has been adept at wrestling up or creating movement with the deep half. If he gets to the back, finishing the rear naked choke has been his modus operandi. His ground and pound is the weakest link of his top game, as he fails to do big damage and control at the same time. Cardio and Shin have held up well so far, we can say, but there's still a lot of question marks surrounding him, and there's a clear lack of depth to his striking and some flaws to his dominant wrestling. Opposite to him, we have Spivac, a fellow top position grappler. Spivac usually fights behind a stiff jab on the feet, coupled with solid leg kicks both to the inside and the outside. He can counter while leaning back and usually tries to tie up to limit exchanges. Spivac is decently agile for a man his size, but his defensive options are limited if he's not allowed to find collar ties or underhooks during exchanges. If he does get to the clinch, he's actually a tricky wrestler to deal with. In open space, Spivac will use his footwork and foot sweeps to set opponents up for a variety of trips and hip tosses that he can land without securing match control. If he drives his foe to the cage, he's also a strong wrestler from over-unders and the body lock with solid trips, throws, and mat returns. If he establishes control on the ground, Spivac is quick to use rights to advance to a position, and when he gets to a dominant one, it's a pick your poison scenario. Ground and pound, the rear naked choke, and the arm triangle are all available to him to finish the deal. Not much of a Spivac off his back has been seen, but he seems to be this capable guard player, going by his impressive armbar off his back against BJJ black belt Marcin Tybura. Cardio and toughness are some of his best attributes. His lack of power relative to the division and lackluster entries to the clinch his biggest issues. So far, Jailton is 1-1 against top wrestlers of the division, getting finished going for a takedown against Curtis Blades and submitting Spivac's countryman freestyle wrestler Alexander Romanov. In both cases, Jailton wasn't shy of trying to impose his wrestling, so we might be dealing with the same scenario here. Spivac might not be the quicker man here, but he probably has an edge when it comes to comfort on the feet. Both guys have shown to have some tricks up their sleeves when put on their backs, and both know how to stifle opposition against the fence, so maybe that comes in handy when being the nail and not the hammer here. What makes me side with Jailton here is that while Spivac might be able to outlast him if this goes long, Spivac is not very immediately damaging, and I don't think he'll find good clinch entries against the faster man that will be willing to shoot at his legs. Spivac could jab him on the feet, defend in open space, and take over late, but he needs to fend off Almeida early to get going. I feel like Jailton's single focus is going to pay off again here, and he will find a submission in round 2. The heel hookers, hello man. Ghost says, do you consider Jailton as a good wrestler? His posture of his shots is dreadful, but it seems like he will. I mean, there are things that are like very criticizable. Like one is that he collapses his own posture, like hunching his back, and the other one is that he kills a lot of his shots going to his knees. But there are some aspects of the wrestling of Jailton that I think are valuable. He has very good technique of hugging the leg and climbing up to grab an underhook when he transitions from single leg to the clinch, which I feel is like he executes with very solid technique, because it's like very similar to jiu-jitsu technique, right? You just like stay very tight and do it like seamlessly. I feel like Jailton is good at that stuff. He's solid in the clinch against the fence too. Like he has some high crush lifts, and he does like the polish throw stuff. So I feel like there are some aspects to his wrestling that are decent. His open space shots can be concerning, especially because, as you mentioned, he looks down, he goes to his knees. But his shot is very quick, so it is kind of hard to punish him when he goes for takedowns, right? Because he's so quick, especially next to most heavyweights. And as you were saying, like, because he has chain wrestling options that most heavyweights do not have, guys just fall over after he starts like trying to balance them. Like DC was always right. You just gotta try to move the big man, and they will fall over. Oh no, this one makes me sad. We go back to bantamweight for the next one, and we have our big prospect, Peyton Talbott, against veteran Raoni Barcelos. This one is kind of depressing, I'm not gonna lie. Let's begin with Talbott. A dynamic and violent striker, Talbott is usually moving forwards with floating hands at chest height, looking to parry incoming strikes or move back to avoid shots and find spots for his combinations. He's excellent at putting strikes together. Talbott is always building combinations to land his big shots, and he mixes his targets well. His punching mechanics can be a bit stiff or wide sometimes, but he stays balanced when throwing and usually has follow-up options. A variety of different kicks, stepping knees and elbows from the clinch complement his hands and open up more options for him at range. His defense isn't super layered, in particular his head movement, but as long as he has the initiative, he does a good job of mixing parries, leanbacks, and taking angle after his combos to remain safe. Counters are a strong point, as he has very good eyes to find a short left hook or angling into pull counters, and his vision coupled with his hand position mean he's good at catching kicks too. Takedown defense has looked sketchy at times, but he's a good scrambler, aided by his size, and has minimized the damage taken when he has been controlled. On the other hand, from top, he has shown nasty ground and pound and a good feel for the rear naked choke. There's still a lot of unknowns around Talbott. There are questions about the depth of his skill and especially his defense, but his physical attributes are all very high. Against him, we have Barcelos, a crafty veteran. Barcelos is clearly past his prime, but he's still a well-rounded threat. At range, Barcelos fights behind his solid jab and kicks to all levels, coupled with feints and good footwork. Barcelos look to either build longer combos or find counter opportunities. His reactions are diminished, but technically he's still a very solid defensive fighter with good footwork, blocks, parries, and head movement. He's also a sharp counter puncher. His punching mechanics can be a bit janky with wide hooks and pushing his big right hand, but he's good at finding the target with volume. He's also solid at defending kicks and countering them with kicks of his own. But Barcelos is not only a striker, as he's also a well-versed wrestler. Owner of a good level change, Barcelos is a solid chain wrestler with multiple options for finishes. And his wrestling chops are also present in the defense with solid fundamentals of fighting grips and clearing his hips, but he has been surprised lately with his diminished reactions. As a grappler, Barcelos is also more than solid, a high-level black belt with strong base and solid passes. Barcelos is good at mixing control and consistent ground pound, and he's a threat from the back. All in all, Barcelos is not at his physical best anymore, but he has all the qualities of a tremendous fighter. His low reactions are his biggest problem nowadays, and his gas tank has also been hit and miss during grappling heavy fights. Skill-wise, Barcelos has all the tools to test or even halt the momentum of the talented Talbott. His integration of striking, wrestling, and grappling is like nothing the American has seen so far, and his defense, footwork, and counter-punching are better suited to deal with his pressure than than those of any of his previous opponents. The problem is that Barcelos is clearly past his prime, and some of his problems play straight into Talbott's strengths. In particular, the constant pressure, pace, and variety of shot selection are likely to exploit his decaying reflexes. Barcelos' best shot might come in the form of mixing in his wrestling, but he's not the physical force he used to, and Talbott is big and athletic. Sadly, I only see this fight going one way, and that is with Talbott winning with a knockout on the second round. So that was the sad hours, man. Okay, let's read some comments here. They are trying to kill Haoni. They're trying to send Haoni to the big undercard in the sky. Oh my fucking god, Badger, that's so mean, man. If this turns out to be the old Brazilian graveyard card, I will be very sad. There's big potential for that, man. That sucks. Never thought about that, man. The heel hooker says, I both like and don't like this fight. Such a good test for Talbot, but man, I feel like Talbot is gonna KO Haoni. Yeah, man, I feel like I understand it, but at the same time, because like Haoni presents a lot of stuff that Talbot has not seen, right? But he just comes in such a like fragile and diminished package, right? That I just feel like Talbot is going to kill him, man. Peyton Talbot early at work at the Phil Mackenzie Glue Factory. Oh man, Peyton Talbot, man, he's so talented. I wanted to dislike him, but he's kind of neat, I gotta say. But him like murdering Barcelos is going to suck, man. Yeah, but I feel like Talbot is like better put together to actually hurt people than Kyler. Kyler just like moves on the outside, and if he finds something big, he finds it. While Talbot, you know, he's going to be like walking him down and feinting and trying to land like absurd huge shit. So it's like a lot more concerning. And I felt like Haoni won the fight against Kyler Phillips, man. So I feel like Talbot is a better. Like, Phillips might be better right now, but I feel like Talbot is for sure a better prospect than Kyler Phillips. Okay. And we have him like, oh my, like this. Like okay. Yeah, Talbot has a higher ceiling than Phillips for sure, man. We go to the light heavyweight division. We have a bout between Guskov and Billy Elekana. So let's begin with Guskov. Wild and dangerous striker, Guskov is all about closing distance with big strikes from his front foot heavy stance. To be able to do this, he feints a lot and probes with his lead hand. He's surprisingly good at sneaking shots with little setup and taking an angle, often re-entering range to attack again. He has the ability to pivot both ways and is decent at anticipating counters and pulling back. That being said, his defense is very reliant on his vision and predictions. He can have trouble dealing with jabs, opposing feints, and combinations. A decently well-rounded fighter, Guskov can fight grips inside the clinch and will look to regain the center of the cage. But he has been vulnerable to level changes during transitions. He remains calm in grappling situations from the bottom, waiting for opportunities to wall walk or find reversals during transitions. Guskov is agile, athletic, and accurate, but he plays a limited game with a lot of inherent risks. Conditioning and chin seem fine so far, but his lead leg and his chin hanging up in the air are available targets. Against him, we have Elekana, a southpaw that switches stances. Elekana is quick for the division, but not the biggest 205er as a former middleweight. He's at his best moving forwards, be it hand fighting from southpaw, or switching to orthodox to get his jab going. He's at his he can put good combinations together against the fence, but he can smother his own offense, shifting into the clinch from time to time. His defense is pretty bare bones. He defaults to backing up to most offerings, and he keeps his guard high when doing so. Sometimes he will do a footwork-based defensive movement when hiding behind his lead shoulder to grab a short clinch, but he's not very consistent with that. Being stalled in the clinch is a problem, and he spends a considerable amount of time in most of his fights with his back against the fence. That being said, he's not a complete void there, and he has shown the ability to circle and attack with big elbows during breaks. He looks to be well-rounded, and he's solid defending takedowns, and he's not shy about getting takedowns of his own when swarming opponents against the fence. From top position, he's nothing outstanding, but he has solid posture and can land heavy ground and pound when he finds his spots. There's potential in Elekana, but inconsistency is his biggest flaw, even more than his striking defense and him losing time against the fence. Guskov will be the more dynamic and dangerous striker against the more conventional and safe Elekana. As I already mentioned, Guskov plays a dangerous game, and Elekana could surprise him with something down the middle. Guskov is still the more experienced fighter with a more present threat, and he might exploit the tendencies of Elekana backing up. Guskov's takedown defense and grappling have been solid enough as well, so that's another path that would in theory be hard to pursue for the American. I'm guessing that Guskov gets the knockout on round 2. Guskov army, man. People love evil Anthony Smith, man. It is funny because Guskov fights looks like Anthony Smith, but he fights like Jiri from Witch. Do you know what I say? Like, he's just like with hands down, looking to land like big loopy shots and pulling back, that kind of shit. Like he fights just like Jiri if Jiri wasn't like fucking huge. Like if Jiri was not like a huge heavyweight instead of like a middle size like heavyweight. And he's like completely bald instead of having a silly antenna on his head. But yeah, I mean, Guskov is like Jiri from Wish. That's my opinion. Oh, this fucking sucks. I'm not a fan of this one, man, I gotta say. Is this the opener of the main card, right? Okay. We move one division down to middleweight. We have a bout between Kevin Holland and Reinier de Ridder. So let's begin with Holland. A long and lanky striker back at 185, Holland is usually dealing with a less pronounced or even negative at times length advantage than the one that he was used to at 170. He usually establishes range behind a variety of kicks and straight punches from both stances. Despite his long frame and long range tools, he's not shy about closing the distance, but he can be vulnerable when he closes distance without moving his head. He puts long combinations together inside the pocket and has surprisingly decent defense in there, moving his head and guarding with his forearms and shoulders, being strangely harder to hit on the inside than when moving forwards or even in open space. Talking about moving forwards, when he does so, he ends up in the clinch a lot as he usually breaks his stance with chips, especially when throwing his rear hand. Being in the clinch isn't entirely bad though, as he's good at framing and finding strikes in the clinch and breaks, possessing nasty elbows, knees, and loopy punches that are complemented by his frame. He's also good at using his length to defend takedowns, especially with the whizzer, but he can be taken down by good entries in open space, especially by tall clinchers. Holland is a constant scrambler and very annoying to deal with from the bottom, but he can be controllable if put flat on his back. Holland is dangerous from the front headlock, where he can put his long arms to good use, with the Darce choke being a threat of note. Well conditioned and very tough, Holland has mostly been beat by being put on his back by people matching his length, especially if they kick, or when opponents consistently attack his body and legs. So against him we have Reinier de Ridder, a high-level grappler. De Ridder is stiff on the feet, but has some good ideas about how to operate with his length. His punching mechanics are janky, but he has a long jab and good ideas about grabbing collar ties to dirty box and use elbows and knees to intercept incoming foes. His reactions are the most concerning part of his striking game, as he usually reacts big while moving backwards, which means he can be set up with combinations. Inside the clinch, he's decently strong and using his levers well. He keeps active with punches and knees. He looks for elbows during breaks and looks to get the fight to the ground. Despite his height, de Ridder is not afraid to shoot to the legs, and he's the owner of a fairly quick level change. He will shoot and initiate clinches constantly, and he looks to wear on people with his grappling pace. His finishes aren't super clean, but he's mostly concerned with initiating grappling. The same with his takedowns from the clinch. Even getting to a foul to his knees is a small victory for him. And this is because the Reader is a creative scrambler with a lot of options. More of a flow grappler than a strictly a controlling one. The Reader mixes good ground and pound and has progression from a variety of funky positions. Back takes from headlock chokes and arm triangles are all part of his usual arsenal. From the bottom, he's similarly creative to his long legs to deny passes and create inversions to start scrambles. The Reader is very tough and well conditioned. His striking defense and his bare-bone wrestling are his biggest issues. This is an interesting matchup with clear paths to victory for both. Holland finds himself at length parity with a clear speed advantage that will be augmented by his snappier and clean striking mechanics. The Reader also looks for a lot of takedowns from bad entries, and Holland should in theory have the wrestling chops to fend him off, but Holland does struggle with grapplers, especially those that are long like him, where he cannot just use his length to deny advances. The Reader isn't the kind of grappler to just hold you flat on your back, but is also probably one of the few guys in the division that can punish Holland for all the risk he takes, grappling-wise. Pace and durability will also be a factor. Holland usually pulls away in fights with those advantages, but RDR can match him and will be the bigger guy grappling him. I feel like this is a very winnable fight for Holland, but I don't trust him in this kind of matchup. I'm thinking the Reader finds a submission in round 3. Okay, let's get back. RDR looks so bad against Mearshart, but should RDR be aware of Holland's right hand since this is open stance? Yeah, I mean, and Holland, packs power, man. Like, he can crack. The Reader, like, he's very tough, but he can get hurt in this fight for sure. An impossible fight to predict, hinges too much on what brand of dumb stuff Holland is feeling on the night. Yeah, I mean, I feel like if Holland actually went out there to just like hit with straight shots, move on the outside, punish with kicks, grab short clinches, punch and circle, he could win this fight like very well, man. But like if he gets like into dumb shit, like he's going to lose, and I feel like Holland, especially at middleweight, I feel like Holland is always on that dumb shit, man. The He Hooker said, I'm curious what mentality Holland has coming into this fight. I feel like he could potentially win this fight, but RDR grappling is going to be a problem. Yeah, I feel like I don't trust Holland to fight like a deny the grappling fight. And he needs to fight that fight, I feel, to win this one. Like, he might submit the Reader if he like hurts him and catch him in ladars. But other than that, I feel like he should avoid the grappling. And I don't think like Holland has that kind of dog in him. Two guys with wins over GM3 who are worse. Holland has a win over GM3? I don't remember that fight at all, man. Oh man, that fucking sucks, man. I don't remember that one at all. 2019, Barbosa versus Gaethje. I don't remember this fight, man. What happened? Did like Holland just outstrike him? I don't remember, man. Yeah, that went on the Apex on 2019, man. I don't remember that fight at all, man. And I remember like random ass Kevin Holland fights, like I remember him losing to Brendan Allen, man. I remember him like doing fluffy to the body too. That fucking sucked too. Anyway, let's get to the next one. Oh, we have the Shriram special. We have the Shriram special here. And next we have a lightweight bout between Beneil Dariush and Renato Moicano, or how I like to call this fight, the Shriram special. Let's begin with Dariush. A well-rounded southpaw veteran, Dariush is a fighter that might not look the prettiest all the time, but he can do it all, do it well, and do it consistently. A janky but powerful striker, Dariush is a southpaw kicker that does his best pressuring, walking people down with his jab and roundhouses to find his wide overhand left. Tactically, there's a lot to like with Dariush. He has good positioning, attacks in numbers, defense kicks well, returns when he gets hits, and counters in combination. Despite not being a very nuanced boxer, Dariush's shot selection is on point, attacking with uppercuts and adjusting to his opponent's movement. He also complements his shot selection by going to the body and attacking with kicks and stepping knees. Dariush is good at mitigating offense by throwing back and predicting strikes with pullbacks and getting his head off center line to throw his own strikes. But he can lose track of his defense and positioning during prolonged combinations, swinging wild and keeping his chin high. The clinch is a strong area for Dariush. He's physically strong and is good at finding collar ties and over-unders. From collar ties, he offers elbows and knees, plus wide punches during breaks, and from over-unders and body locks, he has a variety of strips, and he uses the cage to his advantage. On the topic of wrestling, Dariush is a very good wrestler, excellent balance in the clinch, and good at attacking grips early on attacks. When he's surprised and taken down, he's very quick in creating scrambles with leg locks or pushing off the head and hips. Dariush is a very high level black belt. He's very heavy from top position, and he's the owner of punishing ground and pound. And he can finish with crazy back takes, but he also has options like arm bars and leg locks. Even though Dariush is a better athlete than he gets credit for, but his janky mechanics can get him in trouble, and his durability and cardio have been somewhat inconsistent later into his career. Against him we have Moicano, a lanky Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Moicano is a more than a capable striker. He fights out of a tall stance, jabbing equally from orthodox or southpaw. Also a solid kicker, Moicano can kick the legs and body effectively from both legs to both stances. The owner of good footwork, Moicano is always looking to position himself to be able to counterpunch, and he has quick hands and sneaky uppercuts to do so. While Moicano moves his feet and head well, he's vulnerable when pushed back with combinations, as he can retreat with his chin up high, and he also has been susceptible to same-time counters. The clinch has been a big part of Moicano's game lately. A strong clinch wrestler, Moicano loves playing the Polish throw, hip throw, changeup. He's sticky and changes directions rapidly, and he has been able to take down a wide variety of opponents with it. From top, Moicano is very dangerous with good passes, heavy posture, ground and pound during transitions. He shines when he gets to the back, usually forcing opponents to turtle during transitions or against the fence, and he's a high-level finisher of the rear naked choke. Cardio and toughness are very strong points, but durability and single-mindedness during tough fights have been a problem numerous times. This is a very interesting matchup between well-rounded veterans. I had written between Brazilian veterans before remembering that Dariush is not Brazilian here. He's kind of a semi-Brazilian, right? They are the same age, and Dariush only has 3 more fights, but Moicano comes with the momentum of a 4-fight winning streak, while Dariush is on a 2-fight skid, getting brutally finished both times. Moicano is probably the tighter and cleaner striker from range, and if he gets the jab going, he might find counter opportunities. But he has been susceptible to southpaws in the past, and Dariush, with his aggressive approach, might be able to expose his defensive liabilities. I feel like Moicano has been exposing the wrestling of fighters in this run, and I don't feel like he can do that against Benny. Dariush has shown to be strong defending takedowns, even in the position Moicano likes the most. This is mostly evidenced by Dariush ending up on top position when Charles Oliveira, who has a very similar wrestling game to Moicano, tried to take him down from the clinch. Dariush also strikes me as the more versatile MMA grappler of the two, and we've seen lesser fighters be able to create scrambles from their back against the Brazilian. This is very winnable for Moicano, as he can no doubt land something big or do the most if he ends up on Dariush's back. But I gotta side with Benny, who has a more reliable approach. being a better transition fighter, and not offering the usual weaknesses that Moicano has been exploiting in this run. So my pick is Dariush by decision. Okay, let me get back into some questions. How would you rate this card overall? Really good. I feel like this one has a lot of very good fights, man. So probably, man, for what they offer, the UFC has to offer lately, I feel like this is a very good card, to be honest. 2 kings, but only one is truly owned by Jesus. The other one has chosen the worm money. On Protect Your Neck, we always want Dariush to lose because he's cringe on the mic. I mean, Moicano is also cringe on the mic, right? I think this might be where Moicano loses his winning streak. I think Dariush has enough power and skill to land a kill shot on Renato. Is Dariush shiny? Is that a factor even though Renato can crack? I think Moicano can punch. Like, do not underestimate the punching power of him. He hasn't been trusting his power a lot, but he can crack, man. I don't think like Dariush is like super shiny, but I feel like he has trouble seeing shots coming sometimes, and that's where he gets like killed, right? But I feel like Dariush has like decent durability when he sees shots coming. He's spiritually Brazilian. Yeah, I mean, he's like Uno Anjos, right? According to him. Benny, one of those Joseph Benavides type guys where you wish someone who basically always made good choices like him didn't have the Yankees mechanics of all. Yeah, it's pretty much that. Like, he's always doing the smart shit. But he chooses to do smart shit on the Yankees way of all time. Is momentum really important? Are there people who can stop long winning streaks? I feel like momentum is important, but at the same time, it's not everything. I feel like Dariush is very strong mentally, and I feel like he can like bounce back from this. But I feel like momentum has been important to Moicano, even though he has been looking very shaky in a lot of the wins, right? He almost got killed by Jalen Turner. He got hurt bad by Dover. So even though Moicano probably comes here with a lot of confidence, right? You can make him like doubt himself. But Moicano, to his credit, when he has been in sketchy fights, he sometimes like fights scared, but he always fights to win. So, but yeah, this is a very cool fight, man. Yeah, very good one. Okay, we have. And with that, we're back at light heavyweight. We have a fight between Jiri Prochazka and Jamal Hill. Let's begin with Jiri. Big and athletic and funky striker, Jiri switches stances often and fights from a wide low stance. Very heavy on his front foot with his head over his left knee. Usually jabbing or fighting hands, Jiri is active both with his hands and his kicks and is constantly feigning in one way or another. He has very good understanding of rhythm and is clever setting up his offense, but he can be inconsistent with his shot selection. His unorthodox combinations and good eye for openings make him very dangerous against reactive or defensively passive fighters. Defense is very reaction-based and relies on his ability to pull back and then move his feet. This is exploitable by combination work, but he makes sure to throw while moving back to mitigate this. His stance has also exposed him to leg kicks constantly. Takedown defense has also been inconsistent, and Jiri can be surprised shifting or looking to close the distance or made to lose balance during chain wrestling exchanges. As a grappler, he's solid, having remarkable ability to survive choke attempts and good at timing, and he has good timing for exploding into athletic reversals. Jiri has very good attributes all around: cardio, durability, toughness, but his eccentricities do expose him defensively, and his decision making can be very questionable at times. Against him, we have Hill. An athletic and big southpaw, Hill fights from a long stance, changes stances, but he's predominantly a southpaw, as I said, that looks to jab on the outside, look for the right hook on the counter, or the overhand left against circling opponents. Hill likes to pressure to make his opponents either circle or lead. And he feints and kicks, and his feints and kicks allow him to maintain the initiative. Hill has big power, but also wears people down during the course of longer fights. He can rough people up in the clinch and likes going to the body during exchanges from closer distance. The mechanics of his footwork and his strikes can leave him vulnerable, as there's a considerable amount of jank to them, and he relies heavily on spacing to defend. He has been susceptible to takedowns in the past, but seems very aware about immediately scrambling back to his feet, usually by pushing off the hips and turtling, or grabbing underhooks from half guard. From top position, he's the owner of brutal ground and pound, often favoring damage over control. Hill is durable and well conditioned. His flaws come in the form of lack of depth and reliance on control of the initiative via volume. This is an intriguing fight between fighters who can be janky but are weirdly smart about their approaches. Both are offensive dynamos, with Hill being more consistent volume kind of fighter, while Jiri looks to create big moments constantly. Hill is not much of a leg kicker, so it's going to be interesting if he tries to exploit that weakness of Jiri. On the other hand, Hill doesn't offer much moving back, other than his sweeping right hook. If Jiri is able to put him against the fence, he might be able to catch Hill with something big. I think overall Hill is better put together and the smarter fighter of the two. Probably even just better overall, but I think this matchup is kind of rough to begin with, and I don't trust where he is at mentally right now. I usually try to not factor stuff like that, but it seems like kinda inevitable here. So my pick is that Jiri wins via knockout on the second round. I just can't trust Hill here, man. It feels like his mind is on the gutter right now. Jiri doesn't have to deal with the guy using performance enhancing spiritual aids. He might have the edge here, unless the hands are carrying some kind of spiritual power, right? Because if that's the case, I feel like Jiri is maybe a bad matchup for a guy who is super comfortable with the punching and likes moving in wide arcs, but he'll just so much better put together. Yeah, I mean, this one is kind of rough to read. I feel like this is kind of 50-50, and with Hill mental state being, with Hill's mental state being questionable, I gotta side with Jiri here. Hart says Jiri, Head says Hill. The fight is such a fun and stylistic fight, and really can't wait to see how these styles clash, especially in this fight when it gets to the third round. Yeah, man. I hope Hill shows up in good shape and fights a smart fight, because I feel like this fight has potential to be very good if Hill shows up. Especially because he's durable, and this can get wild, man. And for all his flaws, Jamal Hill is not afraid to get into a scrap. We will see if Jamal Hill is over the hill. That's what I'm saying, yeah. Okay. And we are back one last time to the bantamweight division, because we have a title fight, or co-main event. Perez Dvalishvili against Umar Nurmagomedov. So Merab versus Umar. Umar doesn't have a lot of experience against high-level opposition, and even though his last win against Corey Sanhagen was very impressive, it was a completely different archetype of fighter to that of Merab. At the same time, Umar is a puzzle in his own right, and Merab has not faced a high-level wrestler who offers the kind of kick-based range striking that Umar brings to the table. Umar has fought fighters with wrestling chops, particularly Raoni Barcelos that we talked about earlier, in a fight in which he didn't initiate much grappling and found a knockout in the first round, and fought a similar archetype to that of the champion against obviously lesser competition in Beksat Alkman. Merab was successful in overcoming tremendously well-rounded Perez in a fight in which he was able to not only impose his volume and pace, but also exploit the defensive overreactions of the Russian. And he's coming off a win over long striker Sean O'Malley in a fight with less volume than expected, and one where Merab completely leveraged his wrestling advantage. In a vacuum, Umar is not the level of striker of like Perez or Sean O'Malley, but he might have the comfort that they didn't, because this will be afforded to him by his own wrestling, right? Umar is quick and agile kicker who is not likely to get his kicks caught and converted into takedowns, but he has been vulnerable getting his kick caught and converted into counters. Merab, while stalking his stature, is usually not afraid to throw his rear roundhouse kicks to the body with no abandon, and he might need to do that in this fight to compete at range. When it comes to the wrestling and grappling in themselves, it is also very interesting. Earlier in this week or last week, I think Habib was quoted saying that he thought Merab was the superior freestyle wrestler, but Umar was the superior transition fighter. And I kind of see where he's coming from, especially in open space. Merab has shown to merge his athleticism and wrestling technique very effectively. On the mat, though, I think it's a bit closer when it comes to the mat wrestling. I feel like Umar is very solid there. And when it comes to like submission grappling, I've got to give an edge to Umar, who not only has been more controlling, but he's also like more dangerous with the position he's able to achieve during transitions. While Merab is content to use right to land strikes in transition to just get back at his foe with mat returns, Umar is more of the type of fighter to systematically destroy your post and achieve a dominant position and look for the finish from there. Level of competition aside, Umar has a 50% finishing rate compared to the 22% of the champion. I feel like Nurmagomedov can win portions of the strike at range, but if Merab gets aggressive and gets on his face, he can score as well, especially if he's able to come back with punches of gut kicks. The key to this fight will be in transitions. The fighter that is able to find good entries to initiate grappling and is able to convert the grappling exchanges into winning moments is more likely to win the fight. Merab has one of the best gas tanks in the sport, but his pace only builds on itself. What I mean with that is that Merab rarely builds his offense in a way that gets worse for his opponents, except for the fact that they become more and more tired. Proof of this is like his fight against O'Malley, with Merab getting hurt on the 5th round because he was not like pushing the advantage of having like O'Malley tired or hurt, because he didn't do that. And he got hurt with a body kick, right? In a fight that he was dominating the directionality of. A lot of this fight ends up coming to unknowns, but I feel like if Merab cannot get Omar like super worried about the takedowns, he won't be able to impose a pace that will tire the Dagestani fighter. And Merab does need decent entries. He has been shrugged off numerous times off badly set up takedowns. I feel like Umar's range striking is a bad matchup for Merab if the wrestling is not an immediate, ever-present factor. And he strikes me as a very well-composed fighter who showed the ability to work at a decent pace for 5 rounds in his last fight. I think this is a risky pick because it's based on assumptions, but I'm picking Nurmagomedov to win a decision here. Rooting for Hill, like his Glover performance about as much as I can like heavyweight performance. Yeah, I mean, the performance of Jamal Hill against Glover, I thought it was very cool, man. Like, it had a lot of jank, but it has a lot of jank, but it was a like, smart and well fought fight, even though like Glover was like 100 years old. When you have two guys who looked for top position like these two, who will be able to gain the initiative? I mean, it depends. I feel like if Merab like goes to actually pressure, which is something that he has been staying away a little bit in his last few fights, I feel like I feel like Merab will have the initiative. If they fight a more like neutral space on the outside, I feel like Umar has better control of the distance, and especially with the kicks, I feel like Umar will have the control of the initiative in that case. I feel like Merab only just won the belt. The UFC wants him going so fast. Yeah, I feel like the UFC doesn't really like Merab, right? Especially because they already have like another Georgian that is a champion that is way more popular in Ilia Topuria, so probably the UFC not very happy about Merab, especially with the kind of fights that he has. Even though he's kind of popular, right? Like Zuckerberg likes Merab. So there's that, right? Like Zuckerberg likes Merab and likes Mackenzie Dern. They don't like Merab or Aljo. Yeah, probably, man. Interesting battle of game planners here between camps. Might not translate to a great bout though. I feel like Longo is not a game planning for Merab anymore, right? It's probably Young Wood over at Syndicate MMA who has been game planning for Merab, and he has been putting some like not bad but like kind of weird game plans, because Merab has been like using pace but like moving on the outside a lot, so it's kind of weird, right? Like I feel like they trying to make like Merab to be smarter, which is like weird, right? Like Merab is a pace monster. That's what he is. Yeah, Merab has been with Syndicate for like the last 2 fights, I feel. He still has Longo in his corner. Like Longo is like his striking coach still, and he still spends time in New York, like wrestling with Aljo and all that kind of stuff. But I feel like he does the bulk of his camp now at Syndicate. And I feel like it is John Wood, the one that is like acting as his head coach now. Kind of think Merab is gonna struggle with guys who limit volume with footwork and distancing. Only guys positioned to do that so far was O'Malley, who struck like a dingus and got taken down a lot. Yeah, I feel like Umar can do like the boring parts of the O'Malley game plan, but a lot more comfortable because he's a better wrestler, and it's probably like more comfortable kicking overall, right? Like O'Malley kicks very hard, but I don't think like he likes kicking a lot. He only kicks when he feels he's super safe. While Umar, on the other hand, he's like very, very dexterous with his kicks, and he's kicking all the time, and he doesn't care. So I feel like, yeah, that's why I'm leaning Umar a little bit. And with that, we come to our main event. For the lightweight title, we have the rematch. Islam Makhachev against Arman Tsarukyan. So, almost 6 years after the initial encounter, they rematch for the title, just like the meme says. Tsarukyan has been on a tear since losing to Islam, going 9-1, with that one loss coming in a controversial decision loss to Gamrot. He's also coming off a win against former champion Charles Oliveira in a fight in which he once again showed tremendous grit when faced with adversity. Islam himself has become the most dominant champion in the sport, with classics against Volkanovski and Poirier, since taking the title from the aforementioned Oliveira in a very dominant performance. During their first encounter, we saw them engage in crazy scrambles, with Islam coming up on top more often, denying Arman any kind of controlling position, and punishing Tsarukyan's own takedowns often with the front headlock. I've heard a lot of people say that Makhachev has improved more since, but I don't agree with that assessment. While Makhachev has undoubtedly turned into a better striker, the foundation of his style was already there. He has gained composure and has polished his technique and tactics, but Islam always was a functional southpaw kickboxer. Arman, on the other hand, still has a bit of disjointed striking style that he has come into his own when it comes to understand how the pieces fit, and that's apparent in the use of his jab and movement in his fight against Charles Oliveira. I feel like this time around we might see more minutes of straight striking as opposed to the constant wrestling threats of their first fight. So let's talk about what has changed since the first one. Both have become even better transition fighters while also becoming more comfortable in singular areas. Islam has found most of his wrestling success inside the clinch, drawing reactions, sometimes something he already had success in the first fight, right? Tsarukyan has improved his integration of his blitzing combinations into level changes and has also become a more patient chain wrestler against the fence. I wouldn't be surprised if Islam shows up with an approach more directed at distance striking and clinches and not show off his pocket boxing chops that he did against Dustin Poirier, approaching this one closer to what he did against Volkanovski. I'm not sure if Tsarukyan will look to solely defend takedowns, leveraging his explosive advantage on the feet, or if he will be insistent on getting this one to the ground. One of the few times that we have seen Islam look vulnerable was against Volkanovski during the 5th round of their first fight, with Volk landing vicious ground and pound from close guard, and that's something that Tsarukyan 100% can do if he finds himself in that position. He's similarly stocky, has very good ground pound from close guard. With the exception of the first Volkanovski fight, Islam gas tank has looked outstanding, but we've seen Tsarukyan involved in even crazier paces that involve him working a lot harder, so it is not out of this world to assume that at least in a raw way the gas tank advantage goes for Tsarukyan, not considering cardio management. So I'm not saying that Tsarukyan cannot tire first. I'm just saying that Tsarukyan has like a better gas tank overall, but he fights usually in a more inefficient way, right? Tsarukyan has been improving rapidly, but he hasn't faced this kind of matchup since. Islam hasn't faced exactly this, but there are pieces that he can take here and there from previous opponents. What Tsarukyan has is access to tape. He can see the success mainly Volkanovski and Poirier had in portion of their fights, and he can look to replicate what's possible among his possibilities and skill set. I think some tactics, especially when it comes to defending takedowns that both men had, could come in handy if he wants to keep this one on the feet. At the end, I feel like Arman has improved more. He has been the fighter that has improved more between the two, but he hasn't improved in the ways that would be the most beneficial for the matchup against Makhachev in particular. As I can see, he will still struggle leaping into range against Islam, who is not only longer but a competent counter striker, and his improvements in cage wrestling are probably hard to apply against Makhachev, who have thrived in there. The main avenues for Tsarukyan would be landing big at range, especially if he gets Islam to back up, defend his takedowns and try to achieve top position from reversals, impose a high pace, and try to take over late with ground and pound. For Islam, the path is clear. Use more efficient striking to keep Tsarukyan at bay, force bad shots that he can punish, transition into the clinch or with the front headlock, eat time in scrambles, and look to land during transitions. This is a very compelling fight. I feel like both fighters will come in top shape and with great preparation, but my final pick is that the champion retains. Islam Makhachev wins by decision. Yeah, I mean, Arman is. I feel like it's weird to determine if it is hard to know how disciplined is Arman, because the game plan is never super clear. But and I feel like for this fight, I think he will have a game plan, but maybe for this one he doesn't need a game plan. I'm not sure. Like Arman is frustrating in that sense because I'm not super sure what I'm not super sure what Arman will bring to the table here. Like if he just vibes, he can still win because he's super dangerous everywhere. He's not like good everywhere, Tsarukyan is, but he has a few tools that he can like apply to become dangerous everywhere, I feel. Gonna be a serious test of initiative and probably transitions because both guys love to control of neutral space. These two are also very keen at constantly noticing if something works, they stick to it. Yeah, That's some of the best quality. That's the saving grace for Tsarukyan, I would say. While Islam is a more like clearly a better put together fighter when it comes to tactics and strategy. I feel like the saving grace for Tsarukyan is that when he finds something that's working, he goes at it like time and time again. Adin Rosmin, hi Feño, how you doing? By the way, what are your thoughts on Leon Edwards versus Jack Della Maddalena? Amazing fight. Yeah, man, I can talk a little bit about that one when we're done with this. But it's incredible fight, man. Fantastic. Shriram says, feel like it's tricky because Poirier mostly gained ground in the pocket and transitions against Makhachev, where Arman wants to mostly be a jabber in and out limiter who Islam can just kick. Yeah, that's the big part is that for all the improvements that Tsarukyan has made, he hasn't made improvements that make his life a lot easier in this matchup in particular. I feel like Islam is going to kick more. Tsarukyan can kick with him, right? And Tsarukyan has like crazy flexibility. He can kick like from farther apart that you would think for a guy of his stature, because he's like so explosive and so flexible. But like Islam has the southpaw kick right there, right? And he also has a decent jab, and it will be interesting if Tsarukyan can find his own jab in this one, because the jabbing fight will be interesting. And then at one moment they decide to shoot. I don't feel like they are going to like shoot all the time like in their first fight. As I said, I expect them to settle in the striking and then find setups within the striking, while their first fight was just like both guys just like shooting a lot in between and seeing if it worked. I feel like that's going to be different this time around. I feel like they are going to figure out the striking and try to like layer the takedowns on top of that. And obviously like try to find like counter takedowns if they are available. I feel like that's something that it's probably going to happen, but I don't expect like the constant like scramble fest that we saw in their first fight. Anyway, let me get to topology. And that's the pay-per-view. We have a good one here, man. I gotta admit. Let's talk about like fights that I recommend from the undercard. Our opener, Ulanbekov versus Clayton Carpenter. That's going to be action, and it's going to have crazy scrambles. It's going to be a good fight. For as much as I'm not a huge fan of Ricky Turcios, I gotta say this is a compelling matchup because Sopaj is like very well put together, but he's going to be tested by the pace of Ricky. Rinja Nakamura versus Gafurov has the ingredients to be a very exciting fight. Might be a bit boring if we get into like some like stalemate positions in the grappling, but watching Nakamura at this stage is always going to be very exciting. Rosa versus Perez might not be great, but it still has a bit of potential. Dawson versus Diego Ferreira, best fight of the year prelims. Probably the whole prelims. This fight is fantastic. I'm so excited to see if Dawson can pass the test, man. Ferreira looked tremendous against Rambetsky. This is a bit of a different test here, more similar to that of like Gillespie and Gamrot. So we will see how Ferreira approaches this one, and we'll see the improvements of Grant Dawson too. Zach Reese versus Bekoev has potential to be boring if Bekoev wins, but if Zach Reese brings the early finish here, good, right? Jayton Almeida versus Sergey Spivac is like borderline meme fight. Like I respect both guys, but this is a meme fight. Talbott is going to execute Haoni. Don't talk to me about that. Guskov versus Elekana. I feel like Guskov is probably going to force this one to be exciting, even though Elekana doesn't like to have like a banger fight. Kevin Holland versus Derrida, I am expecting to be frustrating. Dariush versus Moicano, great fight. Prochazka versus Jamal Hill. I just hope Hill shows up because this has potential to be a very good fight. This has potential to be crazy for a 205 fight. And then we have two tremendous title fights. There's a small chance that neither of the title fights are like insanely exciting. but I'm being hopeful that these are going to be like good watches, especially live. I feel like they're going to be like compelling and exciting. So yeah, I'm very excited about this pay-per-view, man. Very excited. And that's the podcast, man. Especially in particular the recorded part. We're going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to this recorded version. Remember that you can head over to YouTube to see the whole stream that includes like questions in between. Remember to subscribe to the channel, like the video. Follow me on Twitter, follow me on Blue Sky, follow me on Threads. I'm everywhere. And if you want to support the Fight Site as an ongoing project with a little bit of money, you can head over to Patreon. And for any amount of money, you get access to a bunch of exclusive content, more than 40 exclusive breakdowns, written and video available for different martial arts from different authors. And we also have more than 140 alternate commentary videos. So if you want to watch fights, but watch them with better commentary and with technical insight, you can watch the actual fight with or alternate commentary if you head over to Patreon. I feel like it's very good value for your buck because you get access to so much exclusive content for so little money. So give it a try. If you don't like it, you can always unsubscribe. But if you want to give it a shot, I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the fights. I'll be doing Fight Companion, the whole main card probably, or maybe the whole card. I'm still thinking about it. But I'll catch you guys on Saturday. Bye. Okay, we wrapped up the recorded part of the podcast. Okay, Adi Ross, it seems like Patricio got his release from PFL, so him versus Aldo is the fight, right? Oh man, that I didn't even think about that. Seems like Aldo doesn't want to come back to 145 though. He seems like super committed to 135 for some reason. But man, Patricio versus Aldo, never thought about that, man. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. I actually want to see that fight happen, man. And when it comes to Don Davis fucking sucks, man. He's such a ghoul, man. And him saying like, oh, I don't like fights, I don't watch MMA, he sucks, man. Man, Adin, my man, you blew my mind with the Aldo versus Patricio shit, man. Leon Edwards versus Jack Della too, by the way. I told you I was going to talk about that. Very compelling fight, right? Because like Leon is the neutralizer, right? And Jack Della is like so aggressive and pushes forward. So it will be interesting to see. I feel like Jack Della just needs to pressure hard. He can do a lot of what Belal did without the takedowns, just like going combination punching against the fence, and that could be effective. But if Leon keeps it in the center of the cage and uses his clinch in a smart ways and elbows him and find takedowns, yeah, it's a very winnable fight for Leon, man. It sucks because I'm a huge fan of both guys. I don't want to see either lose. But the winner better get a title shot, right? The winner between Leon and Jack Della. Like I to be honest, I felt like Leon didn't even lose against Belal. And I feel like Jack Della has a very decent shot at beating both Belal and Shavkat. So Jack Della, my boy, and Leon is my boy too, man. Anyway, I feel like that's it. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me in this broadcast. If you guys have any extra questions, you can just ask me on Twitter, on Blue Sky, and I'll be answering. I still will be posting some clips, and I still have to do the a finish from every fighter from UFC 311 that I always do, and I'm probably gonna make a YouTube video of that thread too. So look forward to that. Thank you everyone so much for joining. I appreciate you guys. I'll catch you at the fights. Hopefully some of you guys tune in for the fight companion, because we'll be having fun with that one. Okay.